gold here, slightly lower yesterday. It had a nice bounce from some support levels around 2670 or so. Silver bouncing back up, coming back up here. Copper's down 2%, probably trading alongside the Chinese stock market, as it has been here recently. Big pop. Big reason for that is that commodities, especially like industrial commodities like iron ore and copper and oil and things like that, that are just, highly required in a strong economy or global economy. Those things are typically going to rise and fall with China, since it's such a manufacturing hub for the world, second biggest, economy of the world. So if the Chinese stock market starts bouncing on, the economy potentially coming back, yeah, a lot of those commodities would potentially rally. But again, I'm kind of mixed on commodities at this moment. Oil down 1.3 here this morning. Gold is a tricky one for me. Off of the follow-up period from the election, right? The down move in gold makes a lot of sense to me. However, as time settles, right? As now, okay, we've got Donald Trump. Whether you like him, dislike him, at least the uncertainty is behind us. And I think that is what prompted a gold push lower. As it did, by the way, with Biden last time around and with Trump the time before that. Gold sold off on the news because people's fears were, there were worse things that could happen. I guess that is subjective. Maybe you really didn't want Donald Trump to win, but regardless, what I mean by that is from a security standpoint for the stock market, for the investors of the world in the short run, what would have been more scary would have been if there was a very close tie or something, and investors were scared as people, maybe there wasn't going to be a peaceful resolution. Maybe there was going to be a repeat of what we saw last time, which really scared people. The threat to democracy could cause gold to spike up, but we didn't see any of that, right? We saw a decisive winner. So with the decisive winner, that again, some of that fear comes out of the price of gold. That's what I've been trying to explain several times. You basically see a little bit of that coming out of gold, but then the question is, does now gold start to continue higher? And some of the things that I'll be looking out for, mapped out on the Edge Finder, pretty much sums it up. I'll do this. Data screeners. Let's go to gold and silver. So here's what I'm looking at, right? If we see some of the economic data materially weaken, then I might be more bullish on gold. But right now I'm just actually very neutral, because yes, you have uncertainties of who the president's going to be, but with Trump, what happens globally, we'll see. There's also the question of just the economic data itself, right? From here in the coming weeks, the coming months, does the economic data in the US weaken, or does it hold steady? If it weakens, I think gold still looks very attractive. But if it doesn't, again, I'm not interested in buying gold. Currently, I'm just neutral. I don't know. What I'm waiting for is, again, some of these data points that are coming out. In fact, let's break down what we've got coming. We've got CPI coming. And if CPI comes in much lower, then that could give the Fed more excuse to cut rates. That would be bullish for gold, right? At the same time, PMI data, keep an eye on that. We did get some fresh PMI data recently. One was weaker than expected. One was stronger than expected. So that's kind of a mix, right? So what I'm looking for, without getting too boring in the economic data, which I know is not the most exciting thing for people. It is for me, and for maybe some of you guys, you like the economic data, but basically what I'm looking for is weakness in the economy to get bullish on gold. And if there's strength in the economy, right, then no interest in buying gold. In fact, maybe even getting short gold if we see enough things start to flip bearish. One thing that keeps me at bay with getting too bearish on gold too is the commitment of traders data still shows that institutional money is still very bullish on gold, right? They still have huge positioning on the long side of gold, right? Long to short ratio is 80% long. Now this is not a short-term signal, because again, this has actually been, they've been bullish and long on gold for like the whole year. So this is not like a short-term, like, oh, it's bullish from these levels. It's a long-term indicator. I like to look at the second table here as more of a short-term indicator, or a shorter term. We can see they actually sold some gold recently, right? They reduced long contracts and they increased short contracts. We'll actually get fresh data on this, by the way, guys, later today. The commitment of traders data comes out every Friday, and our software will automatically fetch that data and populate this sheet for you so that you can watch it close and see essentially what, you know, big money is doing. What are they buying? What are they selling?
This was our best year yet at A1 Trading. In 2024, we brought the incredible Chris Pulver in and gave you guys access to all of his trades and analysis through Pulver Alerts. We also introduced our newest market scanner, the Stock Box, whose AI algorithm is scanning each and every day to provide you with bullish or bearish biases on the top stocks and stock sectors from around the world. Not only that, but the Stock Box gives you a behind-the-scene look at what the largest hedge funds in the world are buying and selling through the 13F scanner, so you can keep up with what people like Warren Buffett or Steve Cohen are adding to their portfolio. The best part of all, both of these products are on sale now for a massive 40% off during our Black Friday sale event. The Stock Box, the Edge Finder, Pulver Alerts, and the VIP Discord community, as well as our Trading View indicators, are all on sale for 40% off. This is the absolute best discount of the year, hands down. So if you want to take your trading to the next level, don't miss out on the 40% off Black Friday sale event. You can find out more with the link being dropped in the chat now. Again, 40% won't last forever, so take advantage of this huge sale. Stock Box, Edge Finder, Pulver Alerts, VIP Discord community, and Trading View indicators, 40% off right now.
Stock market just opened up a few minutes ago, and I've been saying this, guys, for the last few days. I am like really doing my absolute best to do absolutely nothing at all. And to clarify what I mean by that is I have several positions on the long side that are currently working very well. And it is very difficult. I explained this with, if you were watching the live stream yesterday with Chris and I, we discussed this at length. But I mentioned that one of the hardest times for me as a trader, I trade a lot of indices, and I trade predominantly on the bullish side when we're in bull markets like this. But this is hard to do. What I mean by that is it's hard for me not to want to do something. Like, I'm trying to think of the best way I could possibly explain this. I have trades that are working out really well, and I'm trying not to get in my own way by doing anything at all. All I'm doing on my positions that are working right now is watching for creative places to trail stops, right? I know that for the NASDAQ, most likely, we should continue higher in my view. And if I'm wrong, I've got a stop loss trailed. I'll show you my position on QQQ, right? There is the trade. The trade is live. I have a stop loss trailed. And my job today is to shut up and wait. But I will never shut up. I'm a talkative dude. But what I mean by that is I just need to do nothing at all. And that's actually hard. It's one of the hardest things because as traders, we feel like we need to do something. We feel like we need to be making plays, making actions. But with my style of trading, holding on to winners is very difficult. But I know it's what I'm supposed to do. It's what I've done for years. And it's what has led me to the performance that I've had over the last few years, which is not, by the way, I don't want to say like, oh, my performance as if I am the greatest trader on earth. No, I've just done well over the years. I've beaten the S&P 500 by a margin of about 25%, not 25% in gains, but 25% more than the S&P 500 has returned over the years that I've traded, which to me is perfectly fine. To others, they may say that stinks. For me, this is good enough. I'm doing what I need to do in order to continue to hopefully have the same sort of performance, right? But it's very difficult when you have winning trades And I don't know, do you guys feel the same way? I want to ask a question to the audience, if you guys could just leave it in the chat for me. Let me ask you this. Do you find it harder to hold on to winning trades or losing trades? Type it in the chat. I'm just curious. Is it easier for you to hold on to, are you like me, where winning trades are harder than losing trades? Obviously, I'm not saying I would rather be in winning trades. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is harder for me, because when I'm in winning trades, I want to do something. I want to lock it in. I want to take partials. I want to close the trade. I want to realize the gains, and I want to, right? That's the human psychology part. And that took me a long time to get over in my trading. That took a long time to get over, because for a long time, what I would do is every time I would see profit, I'd close the trades, close, right? And that is, I think, what is probably natural. I'm going to take a guess here. That's probably what is natural to a lot of us. I'm seeing a lot of you guys' messages, by the way, saying that you feel the same way. And that's good to know, that that we're kind of on the same page. Like we struggle. I think a lot of us probably struggle with the same things, right? When you're in winning trades, sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing at all. And that's the hardest thing to do. Because again, I'm here looking at it, and I keep saying to Frank, who is in the office with me, I'm trying not to, when I get off the stream, I'm doing my best. I mean, I do the stream here. That's part of my daily routine. But when the stream ends, I'm trying not to look at this stuff. I'm trying to just keep my eyes off it, because if I look at it, I'm more likely to make a mistake, right? The best thing I can do is trail stops on winning positions. And, that goes for people who are feeling FOMO right now too. Some of you guys are not in positions. Maybe you're seeing everything going crazy and you're like, I'm not in trades. What do I do? Well, I'll tell you what I do in those scenarios. If I'm not in trades and I see everything moving, same thing. Walk away, check back in. If there's something setting up, great. If there's not, keep my eyes off it. It's really an important note that I've learned over the years, is if you can keep yourself from looking at it, I'm less likely to make mistakes. In all actuality, there's only very finite small windows where I actually need to do anything in my trading. When the setup is there, take the setup. When you're in, for me, trailing stop mode, trail stops and stop looking at it and just check back in. If you're not in positions at all, check back in, and if there's setups, then great. If there's not, move on. It's really important, because I think over trading does not necessarily just mean taking tons of positions. Over trading is sometimes over managing a position that you're in that you should really do nothing at all. Paints a pretty good picture here. You've got, hopefulness for peace, but also, as you mentioned, the pro-business efforts, as well as less regulation, is a big one for a lot of these places, especially, some of the winners of this week. Frank from our team was pointing out to me that, financials were a huge winner because of the less regulations. That could mean more mergers and acquisitions. Maybe we see capital markets start to pick up again, which is a really powerful thing. Back in 2021, right, you saw huge pushes into IPOs, and that sort of business is very good for banks who facilitate those offerings. So, financials are up. You've got a lot of regulatory stuff that could be lifted or loosened, which there's just a lot of reasons, I think, to stay bullish until something changes in the story. And with which one do you kind of lean towards? Are you higher convicted in the tech world? Are you more looking at the broad S&P 500, value stocks, Dow Jones, Russell? Where, generally speaking, do you feel the most convicted within the indices options?
I think US 30 and NASDAQ, those are my primary pairs that I will be checking, especially when we have NVIDIA replacing Intel on the US 30 side. I think NVIDIA will be pushing US 30 aggressively to the upside, because most of the time we used to see US 30 going slower. And the whole year, actually, for this year, we saw NVIDIA pushing the whole of NASDAQ going higher. I think maybe it will help actually on the US30 side also to push up. If maybe the earnings are going to go positive, going further to next year, I think US30 might perform very well. US30 might start to show us some very positive moves, but yeah, well, I will actually see what will happen on the currency pairs. At the moment, I'm still out. I'm actually playing around gold, US30, and Nasdaq.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. No. I Dow Jones looking really strong, and as you mentioned, they did add Nvidia to the Dow Jones here recently, which they knocked out Intel to put Nvidia in. So Intel, the chip company that has been around for decades and decades. Nvidia has also been around for decades and decades, but it's been the clear winner of the two in recent years, and you can see it in the stock price. Things gone absolutely parabolic. They added it to the Dow Jones, of course, for beginners new to the indices side of things. These indices are just baskets of stocks, essentially, right? The NASDAQ is comprised heavily of a diverse group of large companies, but a lot of them lean technology side. S&P 500 is very broad. It's, got all sorts of different sectors and industries, etc. And then the Dow Jones is, more centric on very strong value companies, which cool to see NVIDIA get added to that list. Very, very exciting times on that front. Question for you too, Kenzo. Do you have any thoughts on, you mentioned commodities. Do you have any thoughts on oil or copper or any of the other commodities outside of gold?
Yes, I was also interested on oil, but oil is been not moving that much. And if we can talk about Trump also, we know very well that Trump, that will actually create a lot of, it will actually be available, which means oil might be starting to go a little bit lower, but we will see how that will turn out to be once is in presidency. But I don't really see US oil going aggressively higher, as we will be expecting more of pumping oil and stuff like that. So that will make oil prices to go a little bit lower, maybe between 70, 71, or maybe 60 something there. It's where we will be expecting the oil to play around. And which actually oil companies, they don't really like that, because they want to cut production so that they can actually increase the demand. But we will see how will that play out. But at the moment, it seems like oil is not really going anywhere. We can see that maybe it's true, we will start to see some serious sell-offs, or maybe let's say around the same level, where the market might just consolidate around the same level.
Yeah, that's interesting. And one thing to note too, about the oil side of things, it's not like we saw a ginormous drop in the price of oil off of the Trump kind of win. I mean, what's interesting to me about that is that it kind of shows that it's been sort of a bipartisan effort between both sides to really keep oil prices down, to try and help with the inflation story. And I think that, whether we got Harris or Trump, that would have likely continued. Otherwise, if we saw the market think very strongly different, I would imagine we would have already seen oil make a much bigger, move down. So we'll see. I mean, oil prices staying low is very important to the inflation story. And so far, oil prices have been kept at bay in the low 70s. What would be disruptive to the inflation scenario would be if oil prices started getting back up into the 80s, into the mid to high 80s. That would really cause some issue, right? Because again, of course, all prices rise when energy prices rise, since every item in the world that gets bought and sold somewhere along the way has exposure to energy prices due to transportation costs and things like that, and those costs get passed on to consumers. So we'll see, but we just did have some data points that came out. I missed them. They weren't ginormous events, but we can just take a look at them. The consumer sentiment came in slightly better for the preliminary University of Michigan consumer sentiment, and University of Michigan inflation expectations came in at 2.6. Previously, they were 2.7. So some numbers there here for your morning.
Not bad.
And, not bad. Yeah.
Not bad. Very good numbers there.
What are your thoughts, Kenzo, on Bitcoin? Do you have any thoughts here? I have a long position on Bitcoin that I'm watching here. I've got my stop loss trailed on. Do you have any Bitcoin trades or thoughts on it?
Not yet. I'm actually interested into taking some trades, but since yesterday we were above that resistance, I think maybe from there it's where we're gonna start to see some bullish moves. But it's interesting that to see where it's going. And yeah, sometimes it's a bit confusing. When I check some cryptos, they like seriously flying. You can see 24% going higher, and some is just 1%. So unfortunately, I'm a bit confused. Which one should I check there? But as we know, Bitcoin is the one which is very good. But yeah, at the moment, I think we are going to go on the upside. Especially again, Trump, I heard he was talking about regulating some of the cryptos. I don't know if maybe that will be true, but I think if they continue that way, maybe we'll see it fly, because it means so many consumers are going to use that.
Yeah, that's again another interesting kind of movement here. Likely because just the softer regulation side, and as you mentioned, Trump has made some comments that have been positive towards crypto in recent, in some of his rallies and things like that. I know he did one in Nashville that was very pro Bitcoin. So I don't know. We'll see if that if that's true, if that persists, and what that could mean for the crypto world. Very interesting times, to say the least.
Currency strength chart overnight. I saw something like there's another intervention level in the Japanese yen, but that doesn't look like it's a huge outlier. I just saw there was some manipulation going on. Aussie weaker, New Zealand weaker. Yesterday was the opposite. We had Aussie, New Zealand strength. We had JPY a little bit stronger. Dollar was kicked in the teeth yesterday, but here we are back up with JPY, dollar, and Swiss on top. Aussie is the weakest. I think a lot of that is China related too. China weak, Aussie weak. That's probably going to be a pretty solid correlation moving forward. I don't know why the market keeps saying like we're so disappointed in China stimulus. It's like, okay, I mean, because they're not doing what a stimulus bazooka like the U.S. is doing. Like they're not adding $1 trillion of debt every freaking 35 days. I'm just saying it's like I think it's funny like the market expectations of like China's not lifting animal spirits anymore. They only did it. So anyway, I think the Aussie, if China doesn't start to pick back up, which I do think they're intentionally trying to put in a floor, but I'm not trading these things long term. Like China stuff for me is if I can turn these trades into profits, I'm taking profit. Alibaba and Baidu, I'll work those down. Those are like good stocks that have been pretty big liquid wise. There's a good market cap to them. They have been doing really well with Western money, so I don't think they're going anywhere. But there's obviously some risk that I need to make sure I'm aware of. Okay, all right, DXY. Guess what? We're sitting right in the middle. So we had big noise on the election, big fallout right back to the middle. We're sitting right in the middle. Think of this like a tuning fork. There's a high, there's a low. We're sitting right in the middle. I wouldn't wait for anything until this thing actually breaks higher or breaks lower. I would not touch this dollar unless it goes nowhere. Or I'm sorry, I wouldn't touch the dollar unless it goes somewhere. Meaning, do we break out of this kind of, consider this like a master candle. We have this election candle. Okay, if we go from this low to high and we actually break higher, there's my profit target. We break lower, then we can go all the way back down the lows. And actually, an easy way to do this would be measure your move and go after a 50% breakout target. That's a very structural way to do that in a currency pair, is go 50%, 100%. If you get to 50, move your stop to break even, get to 100%, take your profit. Make sense? So, food for thought. Okay, other charts. We got just a few minutes left. I'm going like right at the top of the hour. Okay, let me do a quick spot check on the old SPX, which I'm in right now. If you want to type in a couple requests, have at it. So my $2 is trading for $2.50. SPX, don't be a freaking turd. SPY right now is up to $597.90. Am I getting anything on that $600 call? Probably not, but I'll find out. It is still the same 17 cents. You got to be kidding me, bro. SPY 600 at Ugh. 0 DTE. You suck. Part of me wonders on my SPX trade if I don't even bother with a stop loss, if I could turn this thing into profit. That's stupid to do, but I'm just curious. Let me check something really quickly. So SPX, $2, $1.65. Where are my levels at? Current trade right here. Flip this around. Nah, that's a 22 delta on the call side. That can definitely get tested if we have just a big late day squeeze up through 6,000, but I'll keep an eye on this one. If it's slow, it'll be fine. There should be time working in my favor. What else? JPY strong all day, is it? Today? Yeah, strong all day. I mean, that's not crazy strong, but this isn't like, you know, intervention strong, I don't think. It's strong. It's up. But as I've said a lot, I don't love the Japanese yen. And I'll probably continue to say that until people get sick of me saying it, which will be never. So, all right, a couple more. Let's check some oil, gold, silver. We did the dollar. Let's go oil, 70.24. Again, watch that floor on oil. I think that floor is vulnerable below 66. If it breaks, we probably drop to 55 or 50 real fast. No trades on oil for me right now. Natural gas is pausing. I'm hoping we go sideways or lower. I'd like to buy some dips. Gold, I did put on some credit spreads this week. I don't think gold is done pulling back, by the way. So if we go high to low, lower high to lower low, if we just have a bit of a correction here, look, all I'm going to do, and you'll see it in the pulver alerts, I'm going to put on some spreads in here, and I'm going out to 2026. I'm not even going to care about the time factor here outside of, do I think gold's going to be higher in a year? Yes, I do. So I'm going to trade it that way. And if this is 1%, and this is 1%, and this is 1%, and this is 1%, basically that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4% profit on the year with doing nothing other than sitting and holding with a fraction of my risk. You know, so I'm good with that. And obviously I can add a little bit more. Then I can start getting more bullish if I see there's better confirmation. But that's what I'm doing on gold. Silver, similar. We just don't have as much of a room to drop, I would say. Silver's probably pretty well supported in here. So maybe one more credit spread on silver. Same idea, though. If we catch some support, you know, my target's here. My second target is way up here towards like $44. But I like long gold and silver both. Okay, Bitcoin, big move on the election. We're up to some fresh all-time highs. I bought some IBIT this week. I'm willing to dollar cost average on pullbacks. Otherwise, measuring this out to 107, looking at IBIT to go to the same area up to 57 and change. That's, again, roughly, if it's perfectly correlated, roughly where IBIT should go if Bitcoin hits 100K. Okay, MicroStrategy, lots of pullbacks. I did that deep in the money bull call spread. I got lots of ratio spreads down here. I'm still willing to do some credit spreads and debit spreads back down to the 220 to 200 handle, but I'm going to hold off for right now. Ethereum, looking good, looking better. Trying to get this EETH close out for profit. If we're above 60 bucks, that should be easier. I've got about a 550 credit that I'm trying to close out for $1.50 or less. Copper is all over the place. That's really choppy. I'd stay out of that right now. Japanese yen. I'll be interested in Japanese yen futures. If we're back down towards this crazy bottom, I'll look to be long Japanese yen futures with defined risk. Nothing silly. Probably a lot easier to trade futures market like that with defined risk because I can trade options versus doing what I typically do in currencies, which is get my butt kicked by the Japanese yen because I hate it. So I'd rather just trade futures with defined risk. All right, Nikkei has done nothing. DAX is still choppy right now. FTSE pulled back and is still pulling back. Potentially vulnerable if we don't have a snapback on the FTSE here with this trend line support. I do like that level, but if we end up breaking this low, we could, probably a range trade. I don't think we're necessarily breaking and going like crazy low. It's like just look for this to either bounce off trend line support or find this August low and then come back into a range, and I think the FTSE will be okay. So there's some long opportunities there with some good support, tight stop losses. HSI, China's down. I'm noticing that. Apple pulling back a little bit. What did I do here? Oh, I bought some shares. I bought some shares of Apple. I also have it covered at 200. This is out to December, so I've got a break even here at 223.35, seeing if I get it called away with a push towards these highs. Amazon, I rolled a call out further towards the end of December. I rolled it at 210. I've got it at 210. I just rolled it out in time for another couple of bucks. Google's looking fine, or we're above our bull call levels. That's good. Meta, actually, you know what? One thing I wanted to look at, I would love a little pullback action on Netflix. I don't know about anybody here, but I got all excited. I was watching last night. I had about a 45-minute road trip home, and I watched the Jake Paul Mike Tyson countdown on Netflix, and I was like, man, I'm excited to watch this fight, and I hope Mike Tyson like beats the crap out of that kid. Nothing against Jake Paul. I mean, seriously, I give the kid all the credit in the world for promotion, but I'm still scared of Mike Tyson. I don't know how you can't be. If you watch any old highlights and watch that guy still train, I'm like, I do not want to take a hit from a dude that used to be like the greatest boxer. But who knows? Anything can happen. But it's going to be interesting. I'm interested in watching it. So, anyway, I think Tyson wins. I'm curious what the line is actually. We saw the betting markets, right? We saw like Polymarket, Kalshi Market call the election way more accurately than the polls. So I'm wondering what the line is on a Tyson fight. Like you put $100 on Tyson, does it pay you like $10 because the odds are so much in his favor, or what does it pay? I don't know. So I'm just curious. But like I said, it's next week, next Friday. There's like 5 or 6 fights to go with it. I'm sure the fight's going to be like at 11 p.m. or midnight or something like that. But that'll be the benefit of being out in Utah, is I can save a couple hours and won't be super late.
Did you know we do a live trading show Monday through Friday with guests from all over the world? To get notified when we go live, click the bell button next to the subscribe button or check in at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have helpful, free content in the description below and on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching today's video, and we'll see you tomorrow.